My new Laguna 1216 came with this small hand wheel, but I want to show you in this project how you can swap it out by making a larger one that's just a whole lot handier, and it's an easy turning project, and it's adaptable to a lot of other lathes. Hi y'all, Mike Peace, wood turning. I'm excited about wood turning. I'm passionate about it. I'm here to share with you tips, tricks, and techniques to help you become a better wood turner. If that's what you're interested in, click on the subscribe button so you won't miss any future videos. My Laguna came with a small hand wheel, and it's easily removed by loosening these two what I call grub screws. There's one on the top and one on the bottom. Your lathe may be different on how you may have to fasten a hand wheel or what you take loose to be able to get access to your outboard spindle. It simply comes off, and that reveals the threads that in my case I'll be able to use for to mount a faceplate in which I can fasten my new hand wheel. This facility is to allow turning larger outboard projects. Could be a large bowl, could be a platter. Normally you're going to need some type of weight, either with your tailstock with some type of outrigger that in order to use that facility, but we're not going to get into the details of that. Only thing we have to know is we can put on a faceplate to use to mount our tailstock. Now, other options, you could get a large bolt that fits this and embed it in the wooden wheel. That's an option. This was the simplest one for me because I had two faceplates that I could thread. I'm going to use the one that came with my Laguna. The Jet does not have a tapped hole like the Laguna, and rather than go to the trouble of tapping it, I'm just going to go ahead and use the Laguna one because I rarely use a faceplate, and I do have an extra if I need one. I also have faceplate rings that I could mount on my Record Power or Nova chucks if I needed to use a faceplate. We're going to use a piece of wood that I've already got. It's laminated maple. It's similar to this blank. You don't need anything bigger than probably 1 inch at the largest. Actually, I think you could get away with something closer to 3/4 like this piece of Ipe, but I'm not going to use this Ipe because I got so much of this laminated maple.
As I attempted to use my circle cutting jig, I was abruptly reminded by the blade coming off the wheel that I was cutting a smaller diameter than the 3/8 inch blade would tolerate. Fortunately, it did not damage the blade, and I was able to finish the cut freehand.
Alright, so I've cut out my piece of maple on the bandsaw. Now we're simply going to mount the faceplate on it. And as I said, we're going to use this Laguna. In order to get this thing centered closely so I don't waste any of that diameter, we're going to use this little center finder. I've shown this in a tips video before. We just got that. It's got a little 1 inch block of wood that matches the faceplate with a little rod in it that goes in that screw hole that I started with. So we're simply going to mark centers with this awl, or mark where the screws are going to go. Tape to mark this because we don't want to drill too deep. Now the size screws you want to get, there is a difference depending on your faceplate. For the size hole that my faceplate for my Jet, it uses a number 10, and I've actually marked that on here so as to not forget. The one for The Laguna is a size 12, so that's the size you want to get. Now the Laguna has a recess, but it's good. I think I'm going to have a hard time finding screws with that neck down, that top that's got a tapered neck. But I feel like because it pretty much fills the hole for, I'm going to hold it just fine, because it's not going to get a lot of stress and strain, because I'm only going to be grabbing it with my hand when the lathe is off. And now we can go ahead and mount this on the lathe. I was keeping this chuck adapter that adapts this chuck from 1 inch to 1 1/4, but we'll go ahead and take that off for the faceplate, obviously. Now you just use a piece of pliers, and I'm allowing what I use to determine what's going to go in these drawers for this new lathe stand, because what I've used a lot with this particular lathe is what's going to go in the drawers. So now we can go ahead and mount that. I'm not going to bother to use the screw. We're not going to reverse this thing. Now I'm simply going to use a small 3/8 inch bar size bowl gouge to true this up. Always rotate it before you turn it on so you don't get any surprises. No, it's mounted fine. It's just I didn't cut it perfectly round, so that's okay. We're going to go ahead and true it up. Get the speed up here a little bit. I got about 1200, and we're just going to anchor the tool, ride the bevel. Closer. This is what I want to use the hand wheel for, is this type of motion. Okay. Got a different profile bowl gouge that I'm going to use. Got more of an open flute, so I think for this particular project it'll work better. Easier to ride the bevel. Okay, now we're going to come in and start rounding it off. Now, this is an instance where I think I'm going to just switch to gouge right handy for kind of a scraping cut, and that's this 3/8 inch spindle gouge. I don't need tailstock support, but I'm so used to using it every chance I get, unless there's some reason I can't, just to be on the super safe side. Now, essentially, that's all I really need to do for this hand wheel. Now, how thick it needs to be is to some degree, I think, a personal preference. In this case, this one's almost 1 inch thick. The one on my Powermatic, I believe, is only about a 1/2 inch thick. And I think all I'm going to do is sand this, see how it works out, and then I'll come back and change it. Now, meanwhile, I've got to be able to use a knockout bar through the hand wheel, so I've got to go ahead and drill a hole through there. So let me do that. Now, I believe this is 3/8 of an inch. I've got a drill template, and it is 3/8. I want to go to actually one size larger so it'll easily fit through here without any friction, since it's not going to hit anything going through. So I've got that larger drill bit mounted on my drill chuck, and now we're going to turn the speed down. I don't like to drill much faster than about 500 unless there's some reason for it. Now, since the quill travel is only about 2 inches, I'm going to have to adjust this a little bit, which is just the way it is with mini lathes. Larger lathes tend to have larger travel. And you can tell I'm all the way through. Move that chuck. Now the only thing I've got really left to do is I'm going to do just a bit of sanding on here. Okay, I did a video earlier. You can check that on pimping your rod, making a better knockout bar. I was tempted to call that pimping your knockout bar and calling this one pimping your lathe, but unfortunately YouTube doesn't like that, and they tend to want to demonetize it because they say it's not advertiser friendly when you start using terms like pimp. So you got to come up with something a little bit better. If you like this video so far, give it the thumbs up and consider subscribing, but we're not through yet. Now I'm going to go ahead and use that grub screw that's on here to tighten this up. I'm not even going to bother to put on a coat of finish right now. I'm just going to try this out, see how I like the size, how I like the feel. Do I want to consider putting a profile on there before I mess with it? But this may be a work in progress, or it may be good enough and it'll never get a coat of finish. It's hard to say. Okay, there we go. Now, if anytime I want to adjust the work, I can just reach out here and turn this, and it's going to be far more comfortable than this bar. Again, if you missed that other video, check it out. There's a link below. Y'all stay safe. Come on back here.